Okay, so let's get started. So today's session, we're going to go over daily chart patterns to look for. Okay, and this kind of a little bit of a continuation of last week's session where we went over day trading patterns to look for. And again, this was another session that was that you guys came up with as a group that you wanted to focus on. So that's why we're going over it today. Okay, so let's talk about one here real quick, and I have it pulled up on the chart now, is APRE. So this is I'm going to refer to this as just a gap, right? This was obviously a gap down. Let me turn my tool on here. So you see this big gap right here where it gapped down. I don't recall what the news was back then. We could look it up and find out, but huge gap down there from like the $24 level all the way down to like the $6.75 area. So major gap down. So that's one thing that we're looking for. That doesn't necessarily mean though that this particular that this thing is set up to do anything. What we're looking for on this gap down is we're looking for it to fill the gap, right? So we've already filled some of that gap here up to this $8.50 area. And that's why I have it set up here. We've got a gap fill to around 24 bucks, and this price level is at $8.50. That's where I put that price level. So, and I put it in just a gold color. That way, when I'm looking at the chart, I'll probably remember anyway, because I do keep an eye on APRE. I have a starter position in it right now for a swing trade. But just in case, we're on other stocks that I don't remember, then I have this gold. I keep that in a gold color, and then, put that there's a gap fill there. That way, when I'm looking at the 1 minute chart or 5 minute chart or whatever I'm looking at the time, I know what that means right away, and I can see that there's a gap fill. Then obviously I'll check out the daily chart to see what it looks like. So what we're looking for there is just basically looking for it to fill the gap, and that's pretty big gap. But like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that just because there's a gap that this stock is getting ready to do anything. It's not necessarily a setup, okay, or something that you want to trade right away. It's just something that you want to keep an eye on, that once the price action gets into that gap, it's definitely worth keeping an eye on, right? And why are we keeping an eye on it? Well, because once you're into this gap, right, on this daily chart, you can see that we don't have any resistance levels there, right? We have maybe some old resistance here that I drew from before, but all we'll have there is basically organic resistance, unless you want to go on the weekly chart and check out some resistance levels there, which you certainly can. So just wanted to point that gap out there. So that's what the gaps look like. They can be gap up, gap down, whichever. But what we're looking for is whether it's a gap up or gap down, we're looking for that gap to be filled. And we even see that gap up with the gaps being filled oftentimes, even on like a stock that's running hot, and it halts, right? It halts up, and then when it resumes, it gaps up some, right? And then a lot of times there, we're a little fearful of grabbing it before it fills that gap. Now sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it just keeps screaming on up, but you want to keep an eye on that for the price action to come back down and fill that gap up. So okay, so that's the first one, gap up. The next one we're going to look at is, I'm going to pull this one up here. This is one here, this Cara, C-A-R-A, one that I posted in the Swing Trade channel. I think I posted it a couple of times, and I posted it once, I don't know, it's been a couple of months ago maybe, and then I posted it again kind of here recently. And the recent post, it didn't perform. The market kind of started getting nasty, and it didn't perform. But the first time it performed very well, and it performed basically was technically perfect. Give me 1 second here, guys. I forgot to turn my volume up. One moment. Okay, that should be better for the recording anyway. Okay, so let me get to this picture I had drawn here. Okay, so what we're looking at here, and what I drew out for, basically I did a markup on this particular stock. So what we were looking at is a break of that 1627 area. And back when I posted this, we were, I believe, let me see where we were here. I posted it, I think here, right? Nothing, I don't think anything had happened after, I can't remember, maybe it was here. But, oh no, I'm sorry, it was here. Okay, so basically when I posted it the first time, we were looking for, this consolidation was going on right here. Let me turn my drawing tool back on. So all of this consolidation was happening here, right? And we were having difficulty breaking this 1627 level, as you can see. And I'll show you guys several different points where we had trouble with that 1627 level. So we had it here. And even before that, there was some there as well. We had it here, okay? Resistance there, resistance here on 1627. And we had resistance here. And we had resistance here. So basically you have all these resistances as that 1627 level. So looking at that, we can identify that that is a key resistance level. Something else that we can go and do is we can go up here and we can look at some different time frames. So let's go and take a look at the weekly chart. All right, let's see if we have the same thing happening on the weekly chart. Well, we do. So here's 1627 here, right? It actually acted as support here, right? Support here again. Support here again, acted as resistance here, acted as resistance here, resistance here. So this is obviously support here. This is a key level on the daily chart, this 1627 that we want to pay attention to, right? All of these areas where it's holding support or it's meeting resistance, okay? I mean, it's right there. I mean, that's a lot of different points, and this is on the weekly chart. So we've identified that it looks good on the daily chart, looks good on the weekly chart. It doesn't always have to match up on every single chart, but when it does match up, it makes it a more convincing trade. So let's take a look at the 4-hour chart, right? So again, 1627 here, 1627 there, here again. So, and here again some. So that's obviously a key level that we want to focus on, which is why I brought it to everyone's attention whenever we were having trouble breaking that level on the daily chart, to keep an eye out for it. So I think when I originally drew my first markup, I think I drew something like this, where it was, that was resistance, and I just basically showed you guys. And then I also put in my write-up on the chart that the last time that it broke through that resistance level, it went up to this 1815 area before it pulled back. That's exactly what it did the next time. So basically we would end up taking the trade here, right, at this 1627 break. Now up to you how aggressive you want to be on that break. If you want to take it on the break immediately, whether you're looking at the 1-hour chart, which is typically what I do is when I identify a swing trade opportunity, I'm typically looking if I'm thinking, okay, today may be the day for the breakout, then I'm typically looking to take my trade on the 1-hour chart, not the 1-minute chart, because the 1-minute chart can give you a false positive breakout, right? We could break out a little bit on the 1 minute and then, pull right back down. The 1 hour is a little more, a little safer. Or if you want to be totally safe, you can just wait until the actual breakout happened on the daily chart, which was that candle right there, this candle, right? So that's when it actually closed above that 1627. So totally up to you how you play it. It did come back down the following day after it hit that 1615 level, but that's exactly where I told everybody, hey, be looking for a pullback at the 1815 area, because the last time it broke out, that's exactly where it pulled back. And I mean, it was almost to the penny, if I remember correctly, that it pulled back right at that 1815 level. So that was a really nice swing trade. It was almost a $2 swing trade there. Okay, so that's another example of basically just one that I posted in the swing trade channel for us to keep an eye on. And we were just looking for a key breakout of a resistance level on the daily chart. All right, so let's look at another one. Let's look at TELL. This is yet another one. I think all of these, let me double check, APR, NG, Box, NGS. Yes, every single one of these that we're going to go over today, I have posted as a swing trade idea in the swing trade channel. So this TELL, and you can just check out the channel later on, scroll up and check them out if you want to see what the setups look like before. So what we had on TELL is we had okay, so basically, first of all, none of this had happened, right? None of that had happened yet. All that's just in the future. We don't know what happened, right? So what we were looking for is we had a symmetrical triangle, right? So this is our symmetrical triangle here and here, okay? And we knew that it was going to continue to pinch, right? And as it continued to pinch, where was it going to go? Well, when you're looking at a symmetrical triangle, it can go either way, right? And I believe I put that in the swing trade channel. You'd be looking for it for a short opportunity or a long opportunity. In this case, it certainly was a long opportunity. So finally, when we broke out here. Now this is keep in mind, this is the daily chart. So we broke out here on this day and ended up making a pretty nice move. So even if you waited until that candle closed and you got in the next morning, you were still getting in under $4. And we ended up going up here to this, wherever that is, 480, whatever it was, before it ended up breaking back down. So there's an example of something to look at with a symmetrical triangle. And, that's just an older, I don't know how old it was, maybe a couple of weeks ago when I posted. I think maybe we were in this trading range right here. Y'all can look in the swing trade channel, but we were in this range, I think, when I posted it. And I just said, hey, keep an eye on it as it continues to pinch and watch for the breakup to the upside or downside. Okay, let's look at another example. Let's check out APRN, yet another one that I had posted in the swing trade channel as an idea. And what we were looking for here is we were looking for a breakout of this 666 level. So we had, we identify here that it's, kind of a key level, right? Here, we showed support here. We showed support here, right? We showed resistance here. I love it when these levels show both support and resistance. Great, it's a great thing to look for. Showed resistance again here, resistance again here on this day, resistance here, resistance here. I mean, it's just obviously that 666 is a key level to keep an eye on, right? So this is what gave me interest in the trade, is when we came back down. Obviously, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but there's a gap down here as well, right? So we have a gap down right here. I don't remember what the news was, but we did have a gap down on that day. So just pointing that out. Didn't really have much to do with this trade because we didn't take the trade until the break of the 666, and at that point the gap was already filled. But what happened was when this came down and made a new 52-week low down here at this 352, it had a really huge daily candle back up. And if you look at the corresponding volume, so let's look at what the volume was doing on the previous day. So we're looking at 800,000 shares. I'm gonna have to move this so you guys can see the volume. So just so y'all know where to look, right here is where you're going to look for that volume. Okay, so we had here a couple of days prior we had 800,000 shares, and we had 300,000 shares, then we had 400, almost 500,000 shares, and then 564. Then look on this day, 26 million shares on that day, right? Coming off of that 52-week low. So that's obviously pretty telling that something's happening, something's going on, right? So once that did happen, we came up and met this resistance at this 559 level, ended up breaking through it. And then on this day, right, so where this red stops here, this is when I had put it into the swing trade channel, right? And so none of this had happened yet, right? All we had seen at this point was up to this kind of doji green candle right there. That's all that we knew at that point. But we were looking for that 666 breakout. And once it did, on the following day, it went back up and hit that 666 level, met resistance there again. And then the next day, so we had, basically when I posted this in the swing trade channel, it broke out 2 days later, or 2 trading days later. So here was our breakout, right? And once again, totally up to you on how aggressive you want to be. If you want to be very aggressive and you just put a buy order in at 667, that's very aggressive, right? But some people do that. Or you can check the hourly chart out, and then once you're above that 666 level enough, you feel comfortable entering the trade, the volume looks good, the day looks good, everything looks great, you can enter the trade that way. Or if you want to be extremely cautious, you could wait until we had this daily candle close, right? And then you enter it the next day. And the next day you could have gotten in, I guess at the lowest was down here just below the 725 area. But anyway, it ended up being a nice trade no matter where you took it, anywhere in this area. Ended up going back up to 1057. So that's a pretty darn nice trade, depending on how long that you rode it. If this scared you some, maybe you got out this day, or maybe you got out this day up here. But either way, it was a positive trade for you. But for those that were patient and rode the whole thing through, it went up and hit this 1057 level, which made it a pretty darn nice swing trade. What was that about? Depending on where you took it. So we're looking at almost well over $3 basically. Nice swing trade. Okay, let's look at another one here. And basically what we're looking for here, once again, is just a breakout of this key resistance level, this 666, right? That's what we were looking for. All right, let's look at our next one. So our next one is GBOX. Yet another one that I posted as a swing trade idea. I even have some of my drawings still on here from when I posted it to you guys. So what we were looking for here, this is a little bit different. So what I'm looking for here is so I've identified this entire green area here that I drew here. This is an accumulation area, okay? This is where every time that the stock entered this green box area from, 667 up to 780 or so, right? Every time it entered that area, we saw accumulation, right? We saw upside. So we see that here, right? Boom, when it entered there. We saw it here, boom, right? We saw it here, upside every time, right? So that's what we were looking for on this particular setup, is that was an accumulation area. So buying in that $7 area looked like a pretty good opportunity, because look how many times that when it entered that area, especially when it came all the way down to $7, it had a nice bounce, right? So that's just a different setup, looking for an accumulation area. And at that point, if you took the trade based on $7 or anywhere around that area, anywhere in that green box area, then you can look at keeping an eye on these resistance levels once you get there. Did you break through that resistance level? If you didn't, maybe you want to scale some profit out and let some of the rest ride, right? Or maybe you want to hop out of the trade all the way, just take your green, right? Because, let's say you took the trade down here at this $7 level. Well, it went all the way up to 8 something. So that was still a pretty nice swing trade. 850s, $1.50 on a swing trade's not bad at all. And then finally, once it came back here and ended up breaking down. But so that's another setup. Just looking for areas where on the daily chart where you see obvious accumulation. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next one. The next one I want to show you guys is NGS. And this one really made me sick because I didn't take this trade. I wish that I had taken this trade. Let me move this guy back down here. So I didn't take this trade, but I wish I did. So again, here we were looking at basically a symmetrical triangle, right? We didn't have any of this information yet. None of this had happened, right? So I think when I posted it, y'all can look in the Swing Trade channel, we were somewhere around there. And basically the same deal. I just said, keep an eye on for this thing to keep pinching in here, or it to go to the upside or downside, right? A lot of times with these symmetrical triangles, they will typically continue with what the trend was before, the triangle was formed. So, was it downtrending or was it uptrending? So we can expect that if it's uptrending before the triangle, that we're going to see a breakout to the upside. If it's downtrending before the symmetrical triangle, we can expect to see a breakout to the downside. But that's not always the case. Just keep in mind with a symmetrical triangle, it can go either way. Any of them can go either way, but you expect it more to go either way with a symmetrical triangle. So, but in this case, it did break to the upside. But look at this trade. I mean, wow! Even if you waited until confirmation here at whatever that is, what is that, 1036 or whatever, 1040 we'll call it. I mean, we had a nice $2 and something trade all the way back up here to this 1297. So another really good example of a symmetrical triangle breakout on the daily chart. But like I said, I didn't take this trade. I really wish I did. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. All right, so we're going to go to, let me get back to my channel here. So we're going to go back to NUGT. Okay, so this was and this is an example, the reason I wanted to use this one, this is an example of a falling wedge or a descending wedge, however you want to say it. I typically say falling wedge. And a falling wedge, even though it doesn't look like it should be because it's falling, right? But a falling wedge is actually a bullish pattern, okay? So, and a rising wedge is a bearish pattern. Sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it will here in a second. So what we're looking for on a falling wedge, we're looking for that reversal, okay? So in a falling wedge, we're basically looking for this trend line resistance, right, which is this trend line here, this one going right there. We're looking for the trend line resistance to be more aggressive in its slope downward than the trend line support is, right? And we had that exactly here, right? So this trend line resistance was much more aggressive than this, right? This is much more, closer to vertical than this one is, in other words. So we were looking for a breakout to the upside, and I don't remember when I posted this one, but it was well before the breakout. I don't remember, but y'all can check the Swing Trade channel. But once we did have confirmation breakout, which was this candle here on the daily chart, we saw a pretty nice trade from here all the way up to this resistance level, right? Once again, we're paying attention to these resistance levels on the chart. So, if we're not breaking, maybe, this one likely you would have gotten out somewhere around here, when you saw that it broke back below this support level, right? But if for whatever reason you just, had total confidence in the trade and you stayed in it, you saw a little bit more upside couple of weeks later. So that's another example there. All right, let's go to, and guys, I will answer those questions and get back to those charts as soon as we're done with this part. I don't like to have the questions in the recording, so we'll do it afterwards, but I will definitely get to them. Okay, so let's pull up ALPN, another one that I had posted in the Swing Trade channel. And what we're looking for here is this is an example of a cup and handle, right, on the daily chart. So here's our cup, right, and here's our handle. Okay, so that's what we were looking for. I posted this as a cup and handle on the daily chart, so to keep an eye on it. And what it did initially is it popped back up here, came back down near this support area, and then ended up making its breakout. But I wanted to show you all that one mainly because it had a cup and handle. I wanted y'all to see that setup on the daily chart. And that is, like I said, another one that I did put in the Swing Trade channel. Okay, so let's go and look at our last one, which is surf. And I wanted to give you guys this example because I wanted to give y'all an example of one that it never happened. Okay, we were watching for it, but it never took place. So as you can see, I'm sure just by attending this session so far, you can see what we were looking for here is we were looking for a consolidation breakout of this 839 resistance level right here, right? So we have all of this nice consolidation going on here, And that's what we were looking for. And it just never happened, right? But hey, we didn't take the trade because the breakout never happened. So we didn't lose a penny. All we lost was maybe a little bit of time in looking for the setup and maybe a little bit of time looking for the breakout. But what you can do is very easy. If you don't want to spend too much time on it, you come here and you right click or command click if you have a Mac like me, and you do create alert, right? And you say, okay, I want to know when this thing gets to, 8:40 because I want to start watching it at 8:40. Well, you put 8:40 in there, hit your tab button, and now you can do mark, last, whatever you want. And then you hit create, and that sticks a chart alert there for you. And I have mine set up to where not only does it ding on my chart, but let's say I'm away from my computer for 10 minutes or something. I also have it set up where it sends me a text message so that I don't miss it. This way you don't have to watch it the entire time. If it does break over 8:40, it's going to ding you. You can take a look at the chart and see what's going on. So that's a really nice thing to be able to use in Thinkorswim. Other platforms, I don't know if you guys have that ability, but one thing I really do like about Thinkorswim is all of its functionality. But anyway, I wanted to show you guys this example simply because it's one that just never worked out, okay? But we didn't lose opinion on it because we didn't take the trade, right? And oftentimes, we will see that this thing can break out, right, of that resistance level that we're looking for on the daily chart. We have a breakout candle right here, and then the very next day, it just right back down, right? But that's why we have our stop losses. They don't always work, but when they do work, it's really nice. Okay, so let me make sure that that's all that I had to cover. I believe it is, and we will open, yep, that's everything I wanted to cover. So hope everybody enjoyed that session, and I'm going to stop the recording now and answer questions. One moment here.